first thing that comes to mind when I think tree ingredients is like coffees and fruits. So we use both pretty frequently here. We do several coffee variations of different beers, and then we have several series that are fruited series. So, and most of those fruits are tree derived.
In this very tank behind me is our German chocolate cake stout. So that has chocolate from the cacao tree and coconut extract from, coconuts. And we have a cider, a cherry cider that requires 2 trees, apple and cherry trees.
For us, we kind of use what seems like the gamut, I think, of what trees can produce in brewing, and that's what makes it fun. We made a black walnut Dunkelweiss at one point, so I think it really just adds a layer of flavor to what people would consider a traditional beer and make it a little bit more interesting.
I started as a home brewer, actually, and one of the things that got me interested in home brewing was I wanted to make beers that you couldn't find because they weren't really commercially available. And so that was a lot of beers with botanical ingredients. I started homebrewing in 2010, so there wasn't a lot out there. When we opened Earthbound Beer back in 2014, we opened on a 1.5 barrel pilot system, so it's about 8 6th barrel kegs at a time, not a huge amount of beer. And one of our ideas with starting so small was that we could really experiment with a lot of different beer styles, a lot of unusual ingredients.
We have a small system here. Half of it is actually my old homebrew system, and we are just cranking out small batch after small batch to experiment with new yeast, new hops, new fruits, new processes even, so that we can always kind of be aware and know what we might be able to translate up into the bigger system. And it helps me in those moments where sometimes I'm like, okay, I went from a home brewer with all this experimentation and art, and now I'm almost like a small little manufacturer, warehousey, just like, same almost every day. But the creative side of, our business, we can continue to push out these small batches, and then when a really good one hits, we'll scale it up, and that's always an exciting day.
Starts for us in my office back in the brewery. It's kind of a shared office amongst all the brewers, and we kind of trade in and out on shifts. And I've got a whiteboard in the office where we just put ideas up. And so a lot of times they're just ideas for styles of beer. And we really build off of that and how we want to create that. And for us here specifically at O'Fallon, we want to do it in the most natural way possible. So tree ingredients kind of work really well for that theme, right? So it really just, it goes from there. I think we build the base beer idea, the recipe for the base beer, the traditional grain, water, hops, and yeast. And then we decide on how we want to supplement in a different ingredient, where that ingredient is going to express itself best, whether it's in the brewing process or the mashing process or fermentation, or even on the backside just prior to packaging.
Really, there's that sense of adventure has a little bit of risk in it all the time when you're brewing on the professional level. When I was a home brewer, it used to be fun just to throw stuff at the wall. If it didn't work, you just dumped it down the driveway and washed it down with water. When you're brewing at least 900 gallons at a time, there's a little bit more of a hint of anxiety, but then also that fun factor of like, let's do this, let's pull it off, let's be successful, let's make something that people think that you can't make and make it taste great.
Craft beer in America already set the bar for brewing across the world, right? We are a leader. We were a leader in macro brewing, right? We set up the touchstones for industrial brewing. Then American craft brewing really set the standards for brewing globally, for IPAs, for new styles, for exploration and innovation and marketing and everything else, which is awesome. But I really think that we have a chance to redevelop the farmhouse tradition and the forage tradition for beer in a way that's really cool and unique, and can yet again raise the bar globally for beer.
You have ingredients that are, just from the United States that you can use in beer, and then your state, and every level that it gets closer to home, it's more exciting. And the tangible feeling of picking cherries off the tree, tasting them, at their ripest, and determining yourself whether or not they're ripe enough. But what's great about, using fruit and nuts and things like that is storytelling. The story, when you get to tell people where those ingredients from a tree came from, and then how you used them in beer, and then them to be able to taste it, let them share that experience with you. And that's the greatest thing about this industry. It's, you know, it's being able to share what you make.
You know, as brewers, we hope to do a great you know, effort of bringing the community together just because of what we do, and I think it really gives us sort of an appreciation for our art, and really is why we do it. It's for everyone else and to enjoy, and I think that's what gives us the appreciation of our craft.
Forest ReLeaf is awesome. They're doing great work. One of the reasons I moved to St. Louis was because of the amount of green space that was here. I grew up on a cattle farm, grew up around a lot of green space, and like my first visit to St. Louis, I was shocked at like how many parks, how many trees, how much green there was in town, and it's really truly awesome, and it's a huge part of the quality of life. And so I really appreciate Forest ReLeaf's conservation efforts and efforts to do education and everything else, and it's wonderful.